Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures continued, issue number 28 from IDW. So yeah, recap of the last issue. All of the Pantheon characters are now back on Earth, and they are going to go after the Turtles. That's pretty much your recap. We start off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Day, where the entire city is celebrating the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. At first I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because how would the entire city know about the Turtles if in all the other previous issues we've seen them wearing disguises constantly? And then the very next page immediately clues me in on what's going on. Like we see Splinter, and he's a human again. We see Shredder, and he's in prison, and he's doing much better, and he thanks the Turtles for putting him in prison because he's learned so much and he's going to change his ways. And even the mayor comes with a life supply of free pizza and the key to the city. So this should clue you in that this is all in their heads. And it turns out that Golgotha has brainwashed all of them. So we pretty much are just retelling a previous issue again, where we have the Turtles and they're trapped in their minds once again, and they're living their best lives. Only Golgotha decides to have a change of plans. We go through literal pages and pages of Golgotha just explaining about how she is able to control the Turtles by singing and by using this amplifier and stuff. But pretty much Golgotha goes from them living like their best lives to turning it into a nightmare where the entire city turns against the Turtles, including Splinter and April, and they try to go after the Turtles. So the Turtles are forced to run away as the entire city chases after them. And they're hiding, and then some weird lady shows up and says, I can protect you guys. You just have to 100% trust me completely. And I'm just like, really? Come on, guys. Like, I get this is a series for kids, but the Turtles aren't this dumb. They should be, like, cluing in that something is off when all of a sudden they're the heroes of the entire city and they're having everything that they ever wanted. And then when all of a sudden their own dad, Splinter, and their best friend, April, turns against them. Like, something should just, like, clue them in, like, hey, maybe there's something wrong. Especially since they've literally dealt with this before, not that long ago. And now they're over here debating on whether they should trust this lady or not. And I'm like, this is a lady that just showed up out of nowhere. She talks in rhymes. And she's saying that I can protect you if you just 100% give in to me and just trust me completely. Like, come on. So April gets a call from Splinter, and it turns out that Splinter has like a device so that he can track where the Turtles are. But the problem with him is that he needs a ride to where they're at, and he can't necessarily call like a taxi or anything. So he bums a ride from April, and Splinter is able to track where they're at. So he smashes down the door, and he prepares to put a fight against Golgotha. Golgotha tries to use her songs to hypnotize Splinter, but Splinter's like, I've mastered meditation, so you won't be able to use that on me. So instead, Golgotha is forced to make the Turtles see Splinter as Shredder. So they go and they start attacking Splinter. Until April shows up to save the day by smacking the amplifier out of Golgotha's hand and giving a good whack to Golgotha's face, which breaks the spell and allows the Turtles to be free. And they decide to go after Golgotha. And yeah, that's pretty much kind of it. I will say that I didn't care too much for this one. Mostly because I feel like, one, it's a story we've already told before. We've literally just had a story where the Turtles were trapped in their own minds and they were living like their best lives and stuff. Yeah, we had the twist where it went evil after a while, like it turned from like their perfect dream to a nightmare. But other than that, we've already done this. Not only that, but this dragged on. This was the entire issue, was just them trapped. We literally had pages where Golgotha is just talking about what she's doing, about how she's able to trap them in their minds. It's like, you don't need pages to explain that to me. I pretty much got it. You can literally just have one panel where she says, you know, I can make them live out their best dreams or their worst nightmare just by singing and amplifying my song through this amplifier. That's all you need. But instead we get little pages having to explain all this to us. We just have the Turtles acting really, really dumb. I know like the Turtles in the 80s cartoons are different than all the other versions of the Turtles. They're not this stupid. Like something should have clued them in that there's something off about this right away. If not, when the entire city is pretty much worshiping them, then at least when the entire city immediately turns on them, including April and Splinter. Why would Splinter ever turn on you guys? Like, that should have just clued them in. But they don't. They like, buy this 100%. They even start buying that this weird lady that just showed up and wants them to, like, completely trust her. They start buying her as well. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm buying what you're selling. So, yeah, I don't like this story all that much because, again, we told it before. Way too many wasted pages. It drags on for too long. And you have to dumb down the turtles for this plot to make sense. And when you gotta do that, when you gotta dumb down your characters just for the sake of the plot, then you kind of have a terrible plot. I think we could have done a lot better with the Golgotha character than just this. We could have had a whole, like, rather than being completely obvious that something is up, we could have had her basically, like, throwing little subtle hints that there's something off. Like, they're continuing to live their lives, but just something seems a little bit off. Like, you could have just had a whole thing where you have the turtles and they start questioning their own reality. Like, they don't know what's real or what's not anymore by not being overly... There's no subtlety in the way that Golgotha treated this. You could have done something like almost like a kid-friendly version of the Buffy episode. I forget what the episode was called. It was season 6. Was it season 6 or season 7? Where Buffy keeps jumping between two different realities. One where she's a slayer and one where vampires and all that stuff don't exist and her parents are still together. And it just keeps going back and forth between this. And even in the end, it's kind of left open like which one is which one is the true reality or not. You could have done something like that for here. Only of course, you know, kidify it a little bit. But you could have had like a thing where just little things would come up and they had no idea, like, is this really happening? Is this not happening? Even the readers can go along with it and they don't know what's true and what's not anymore. You can do like subtle things like that. I mean, that could have been something that was interesting. Heck, you could have done this whole like arc where you had the turtles and they're you know, they're fighting the Pantheon and they're like saving the day and stuff like that. And they're like taking out the Pantheon one by one, until eventually they come across Hobbs and they defeat him. And they're all happy and stuff. And then the cliffhanger would be that we see them and they're actually imprisoned by the Pantheon and they're still under the Golgotha spell. And this entire time, like the past few issues I've been reading, it was all just them trapped in this fake reality that they had no idea was actually going on. I don't know if you would want to do something like that, but that's just like an idea, you know, I'm just coming up with off the top of my head. But you could have done something like that. Or even you could have just done something where Golgotha just, since they're under her spell and she can kind of control them, just march them right towards the Pantheon, throw them in jail or take them out, whatever you want to do. But you had the turtles right there. You could have done something where you could have just completely taken them off the chessboard. But instead, no. Instead, we're just repeating the same thing that we had in the previous issue. Only that previous issue didn't waste an entire issue to do it. That previous storyline where they were trapped, it was only like a few pages before Mikey breaks out, and then we had like another cool adventure. Here, it's like you're taking that like 3-4 pages and you're expanding it into an entire issue, and I can tell that they were kind of dragging this because there's literally multiple pages where just Golgotha talking about what she's going to be doing. And it's like, you don't need to do that. We can literally see what you're doing. And speaking of dragging things on, I feel like I'm dragging this review on too much. So I'm just going to end this here. Yeah, I didn't care for this one too much. Hopefully the next one will be better. We'll see. But yeah, this gets a pass from me. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.